There is a woman in your life right now who is missing you so deeply that it is quietly reshaping her entire day, and you have absolutely no idea it is happening. And that single truth should stop you completely in your tracks. Because what you are about to discover in the next few minutes is going to change forever the way you see every silence, every distance, and every moment. She pretended not to care, and the most shocking part is that the signs have been there all along, written clearly in her behavior, in her energy, in her eyes. And you have been walking past them every single day without knowing what they meant. But that ends right now because once you understand the hidden language of female psychology, you will never be able to unsee it. And more importantly, you will finally know exactly what to do when you realize that the woman who means the most to you has been reaching out to you in every way except the one way that words allow. There is a language that exists beyond words, a quiet and powerful form of communication that women have carried within them for centuries. And if you have ever felt it without being able to name it, you are not alone because this silent language is one of the most profound and misunderstood forces in human connection, and it speaks loudest in the moments when nothing is being said at all. Female psychology is deeply rooted in emotion, intuition, and an extraordinary ability to feel everything at once while showing only a fraction of it on the surface. And this is not weakness. This is a kind of emotional intelligence that most people spend their entire lives trying to understand because a woman who misses someone does not always reach out. She does not always say the words. She does not always let you see the storm that is happening inside her. Instead, she speaks in the silent language, the one written in pauses and glances and small behaviors that carry the weight of entire conversations. When a woman misses you, she becomes more aware of everything around her that reminds her of you. The psychology behind this is called involuntary autobiographical memory, where the brain retrieves emotional experiences triggered by sensory details, a song, a smell, a color, a time of day, and in those moments she is not just remembering, she is feeling deeply and fully, and that feeling is real even if she never speaks it out loud. She might check your social media without responding. She might like a photo from 3 weeks ago at 2 in the morning. She might watch your stories and say nothing, and from the outside this looks like distance, but from the inside it is as close as she feels she is allowed to get, because women are taught from a very young age to protect their hearts, to not appear too eager, to not show too much, and so the silent language becomes her only safe way of staying connected to something that matters to her without risking rejection or vulnerability. Female psychology also tells us that women process emotions through rumination, meaning they think deeply and repeatedly about the people who have left an impact on their lives. And when a woman is missing someone, that rumination becomes a private world she lives inside. She replays conversations. She imagines different outcomes. She holds entire dialogues in her head that you will never hear. And all of that mental and emotional energy is a form of devotion that she may never directly express, but that shapes every quiet moment of her day. The silent language also shows up in the way she acts when she is around you. She might become slightly nervous or overly composed. She might laugh a little too quickly or go unusually quiet. She might find small reasons to stay near you or small reasons to avoid you entirely, because proximity to someone you miss is both a comfort and a kind of beautiful pain, and the body always betrays what the mind is trying to hide. There is also something deeply important in understanding that a woman who hides her feelings is not being dishonest. She is being protective. She has likely been in situations where showing her emotions made her feel exposed or misunderstood, and so she learned to guard them carefully. And that guarding is not a wall built to keep you out. It is a wall built to keep herself safe, and the silent language is her way of being honest without being vulnerable, of loving without losing herself. When you learn to read this language, you begin to see people differently. You begin to understand that silence is not absence, that distance is not indifference, that a woman who says nothing may be feeling everything. And this understanding is not just about romantic connection. It applies to friendships, to family, to every relationship where a woman has ever chosen to protect her heart over expressing it. The most inspiring truth about female psychology is that beneath every quiet exterior is a depth of feeling that most people never get close enough to witness, And the women who carry the most inside them are often the ones who say the least. They have learned that their emotions are powerful and precious, and not everyone deserves access to them. So when you notice the silent language, when you feel it without being able to explain it, honor it. Because what you are witnessing is not emptiness. It is a woman who feels so much that she has had to find a way to carry it beautifully and quietly and with more strength than most people will ever fully appreciate. There is a moment that almost every woman knows intimately, a moment where she feels something so deeply and so completely that the feeling itself becomes almost too large to speak. And instead of letting it pour out, she folds it carefully, tucks it somewhere private, and presents the world with a calm and composed version of herself that tells no one what is actually happening beneath the surface. And if you have ever wondered why she does this, the answer is not simple, but it is profound and it will change the way you see the women in your life forever. Female psychology teaches us that women are emotional processors by nature, meaning they do not just feel emotions, they live inside them, they analyze them, they carry them, they revisit them, and this deep emotional world that women inhabit is both their greatest strength and the very reason they learn so early in life to hide what they feel, because the world has not always been kind to women who feel too openly, or love too visibly, or miss someone too honestly. From childhood, women receive messages, both spoken and unspoken, about how much emotion is acceptable to show. They are told to be strong, to not cry too easily, to not appear desperate, to not need too much, and over time, these messages become beliefs, and those beliefs become behaviors, and suddenly a woman who feels everything has taught herself to show almost nothing, not because she is cold, not because she does not care, but because she learned that caring too openly made her vulnerable in ways that cost her deeply. The psychology behind emotional hiding in women is also connected to something called fear of rejection, which is one of the most powerful drivers of human behavior. When a woman has feelings she is not sure will be received well, she makes a calculation, sometimes unconsciously, where she weighs the relief of expressing herself against the risk of being misunderstood or dismissed or left feeling foolish for having opened up at all. And more often than not, the risk feels too great, and so she chooses silence. She chooses composure. She chooses the version of herself that cannot be hurt by your reaction. But here is what that silence really means, and this is the part that most people miss entirely. When a woman hides her feelings, it is not a sign that the feelings are small. It is a sign that they are enormous, because we only protect the things that matter most to us. We only guard what we cannot afford to lose, and a woman who goes quiet around her emotions is a woman who feels so much that she cannot risk letting any of it out without losing control of all of it. Female psychology also shows us that women are deeply intuitive about the emotional safety of their environment, and they will only open up fully in spaces where they feel genuinely seen and genuinely safe. And when that safety is not present, they retreat inward not out of manipulation, but out of self-preservation. And understanding this is one of the most compassionate things you can do for the women in your life. When she pulls back, it means she is paying attention. When she goes quiet, it means something moved her. When she acts unbothered, it often means she is anything but. And learning to read these signals is learning to speak the private language of a woman who has spent years becoming fluent in protecting herself while still somehow remaining open enough to feel everything. The most powerful thing you can take from understanding female psychology is this: her hidden feelings are not a mystery designed to confuse you. They are a story written in a language that requires patience and presence and genuine care to read. And when you commit to understanding that story, you begin to build the kind of connection that most people spend their entire lives searching for. Every woman who hides her feelings is waiting, perhaps without even knowing it, for the person or the space or the moment that finally makes it feel safe enough to be fully honest. And when that moment comes and she chooses to open up, you will understand that what she is offering you is not just words, it is everything she has been carrying quietly for longer than you know. If this way of understanding women and emotional connection speaks to something inside you, then you are exactly the kind of person this channel was created for. hit subscribe right now and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a video, because every week we go deeper into female psychology, human connection, and the conversations that most people are too afraid to have. Your next breakthrough is only one video away, so stay with us and keep growing. There are moments in life where the truth is standing directly in front of you, not shouting, not demanding your attention, but simply present, quietly and persistently present. And the tragedy is not that you cannot see it. The tragedy is that somewhere deep inside you already feel it, but you have convinced yourself that you might be wrong, that you might be reading too much into things, that maybe it means nothing. And this is exactly where most people lose something beautiful simply because they refuse to trust what was right in front of them. Female psychology is rich with layers and textures that most people never take the time to understand. And one of the most important truths it reveals is that when a woman misses someone, she does not disappear emotionally. She shifts. She changes in small but deeply significant ways. And those changes are not random. They are signs, real and readable signs that carry more honesty than anything she might say out loud. And if you have been overlooking them, it is time to stop, because what you are ignoring may be the most important communication you have ever received. The first sign is in the way her energy changes. When you are near or when your name comes up in conversation, female psychology tells us that the body is always the first to betray what the heart is trying to conceal. And a woman who misses someone experiences a very real physiological response in their presence. Her breathing may shift slightly. She may become more animated or unusually still. She may laugh a little too easily or grow quiet in a way that feels heavy rather than empty. And this energy shift is not something she is performing. It is something she cannot control. It is her nervous system responding to the proximity of someone who matters deeply to her. And when you notice this change and you feel it, rather than just observe it, you are receiving one of the most honest signals a woman can give you without ever opening her mouth. The second sign lives in her attention, specifically in the quality and consistency of it. A woman who misses you pays attention to you in ways that go beyond casual interest. She remembers things you said weeks ago. She notices when something about you is different. She asks questions that reveal she has been thinking about you in your absence. Female psychology explains this through the concept of emotional investment, where the mind naturally spends more time and energy on the people it is most attached to. And when a woman is consistently showing up in your details, remembering your stories, tracking your moods, noticing your silences, she is telling you without words that you occupy a significant amount of her inner world. And that kind of attention is rare, and it is real, and it deserves to be recognized rather than dismissed as coincidence. The third sign is perhaps the most overlooked and the most powerful, and it lives in her moments of almost. The times when she starts to say something and then stops, the times when she looks at you a beat too long before looking away, the times when she creates reasons to be near you that neither of you acknowledge out loud. Female psychology refers to this as approach avoidance behavior, where a person is simultaneously drawn towards something and afraid of it, and a woman who is missing someone and hiding it will constantly exist in this push and pull. She will get close and then create distance. She will open up slightly and then pull back. And every single one of those almosts is a sign that she is feeling something she has not yet found the courage or the safety to fully express. What makes these three signs so significant is not just what they reveal about her feelings, but what they reveal about her character. Because a woman who still shows up in these quiet and unspoken ways, even while protecting herself, is a woman of extraordinary emotional depth. She is not playing games. She is navigating the very real tension between what she feels and what she fears. And that navigation takes more courage than most people ever acknowledge. When you stop ignoring these signs, you do not just gain information, you gain perspective. You begin to understand that the most meaningful communications in human relationships are rarely the loudest ones. They are the ones that require you to slow down, to pay attention, to be present enough to catch what is being said in the spaces between words. Female psychology ultimately teaches us that women speak in full sentences even when they are completely silent. And the three signs she is giving you are not whispers. They are declarations written in a language that only the truly attentive will ever learn to read. And now that you know what to look for, the only question is whether you are willing to pay the kind of attention that this moment and this woman genuinely deserve. There is a kind of power that comes with knowledge, not the power to control or manipulate, but the quiet and grounded power of understanding. And when you reach the point where you can see clearly that a woman is missing you, where you have read the signs and felt the energy and recognized the patterns that female psychology has been revealing to you all along, you arrive at what is perhaps the most important crossroads in any human connection, because knowing is only the beginning. What you do with that knowledge is everything. Female psychology teaches us that women are extraordinarily sensitive to authenticity. They have spent years developing an almost supernatural ability to detect when someone is performing versus when someone is genuinely present. And this means that the moment you discover she misses you is not a moment to strategize or calculate or plan your next move with the coldness of someone playing a game. It is a moment that calls for something far more powerful and far more rare. It calls for realness. It calls for you to show up as the most honest and grounded version of yourself, because anything less will be felt immediately and it will cost you the very connection you are trying to build. The first thing you must do is create emotional safety. And this is not a small thing. This is everything, because female psychology is fundamentally built around the concept of safety. A woman will not open up, will not let her guard down, will not allow herself to be vulnerable with someone who has not first demonstrated that her vulnerability will be honored and protected. And creating that safety does not require grand gestures or perfect words. It requires consistency. It requires showing up the same way repeatedly over time. It requires being someone whose presence feels like a relief rather than a risk. And when she begins to feel that safety around you, she will not need to hide her feelings anymore, because she will finally have somewhere safe to put them. The second thing you must do is listen, and not just with your ears, but with your full presence. Female psychology places enormous value on being truly heard, because so many women have spent so much of their lives being spoken over or misunderstood or reduced to their emotions rather than respected for them. And when you offer a woman the experience of being genuinely listened to, when you make her feel that her words and her feelings and her inner world are interesting and worthy of your complete attention, you give her something that is almost impossibly rare, and she will feel it in a way that goes straight to the core of who she is. The third thing you must understand is that you cannot rush her, and this requires a particular kind of patience that is itself a form of love. Female psychology shows us that women process emotions on their own timeline, and that timeline cannot be forced or accelerated without causing the very withdrawal you are hoping to prevent. If she is not yet ready to say out loud what she feels, your job is not to push her toward that confession, but to remain present and steady and trustworthy enough that when she is ready, you are still there, because the man or the presence that waits without pressure is the presence that ultimately earns the deepest level of trust. You must also be willing to be vulnerable yourself, because female psychology is not a one-way street. And a woman who is hiding her feelings is often waiting to see whether the other person is capable of emotional honesty before she risks her own. When you allow yourself to be open, when you share something real and unguarded, you give her permission to do the same. You lower the emotional temperature of the room, and suddenly the things that felt too risky to say begin to feel possible. What to do when you know she misses you is ultimately not about tactics or timing or saying the right thing at the right moment. It is about becoming the kind of presence that makes honesty feel like the most natural thing in the world. It is about understanding that beneath every hidden feeling is a woman who wants nothing more than to be seen fully and loved safely, and met with the kind of emotional maturity that tells her she does not have to protect herself from you. This is what female psychology has been pointing toward all along. Not the signs, not the patterns, not the silent language, but this, the invitation to show up more completely for the people who are quietly and bravely loving you from behind the walls they built to survive. If everything you have read here today has opened something in you, if it has given you a new way of seeing the women in your life and the connections that matter most to you, then this channel was made for you. Subscribe right now and turn on your bell notification because every single week we bring you deeper insights into female psychology, emotional intelligence, and the kind of human understanding that transforms relationships from the inside out. Do not miss what comes next because your greatest relationship breakthrough may be just one video away.